In this video, we're going to talk about 4 different kind of errors that you might encounter while you're programming in C. So we have a errors.c file all made up for us. Let's take a look at it, and let's take a look at the top. So there's a comment here that is telling us what this program is supposed to do. So first, it's supposed to get 2 ints from the user and divide them. Then it's supposed to get 2 chars from the user and just print them out. And then it's supposed to get a radius and compute the area of the corresponding circle. And we're going to use this program to see our 4 different kinds of errors. So our first type of error that we're going to talk about is a syntax error. So this is something that's going to be caught by the compiler. So syntax is just these rules that C needs us to write our program in so that it can be translated into machine code that can be executed by the CPU. So I realize I actually don't have my syntax error that I meant to have in there. So let's say I forget to have that semicolon at the end of this statement. And let's say I try to compile this. So I now have my printf has no semicolon after it. I'm going to write this and quit, and let's try to compile this into a file called errors, and we'll use our warnings, and we want to use that C file. And so we see here in red, it's telling me I have an error. I expected a semicolon before that next line. And so this is a kind of maybe easier to decipher error, but the compiler is catching it. So we call that a syntax error. And we can fix that by just putting a semicolon in. And let's go ahead and see if we can compile it again. And now we didn't get any errors. So that's great. So that's our first type of error. Another error, let's actually just try to run this. We run it using errors. So let's say I put in 2 integers, 8 and 3, and that result is correct. Great. I can only put 3 into 8 2 times, but what if I run this again and I put 8 and 0 in? So there was no error from the compiler, but this is a runtime error. So something that's not caught by the compiler, but once we have assigned values to these variables, C can't work with that. So for this error, I mean, to fix it, we can't enter zeros. I mean, we could put in something like we could tell the user not to put in a 0, or we could actually deal with that. If they did enter a 0, then maybe we don't execute this statement here. But that is a runtime error. It's not caught by the compiler, but it does stop our program from running. Another error is what we're going to call an undetected error. So if I uncomment this piece of code here, and actually I'm just going to add a comment this out so it doesn't run. So I can use these this type of comment to do a multi-line comment if I want to comment out multiple lines. I use my asterisks and my slashes. So an undetected error, our program is going to run through, but it's not going to do what we intend it to do. So here we're doing so we can go back to the top just to look at our comment. I can always press GG to get to the top of my file. And here we're supposed to get our comment tells us that we're supposed to get 2 characters from the user and print them out. So let's go back down there. And we see, I mean, this is looking pretty good. Enter 2 characters. We're going to call scanf and assign, oh, this actually does not look right. this should be a C, and this should be a D, right? We want to assign them to C and D. So this is looking pretty good, so let's try run it. First we compile it. We didn't get any errors, no syntax errors from the compiler. And what happens when we run it? I'm going to enter Y and N, and I see here, okay, it ran, it didn't tell me there were any errors, but I'm not getting what I thought. And that's because, as we saw, I think in the previous video, if we want to separate our chars with white space, we need to put a space between them. So I'm going to have to put this space here. And so we call this an undetected error because the computer is not telling me that there was an error. But still, what I meant to happen was not happening. All right, and so I've added that space, and let's see if that fixed it. I'm going to run it, Y and N, and here I do have, now I get what I wanted. So that was my undetected error. And the final error, let's comment this out again so we don't have anything else going on. So the final error is a logic error, and so it can be kind of confusing to differentiate an undetected error from a logic error, but the idea behind the logic error is that's when I, as the programmer, actually have used an incorrect algorithm. So here I am claiming that these lines of code are going to compute the area of a circle. So let's see, we declare a variable r for the radius and a variable area for the area. We get a radius from our user, that seems great. And then we compute area as 2 pi r, but oops, this is wrong, right? That's the circumference. Uh-oh. I don't know how to spell circumference. I'll try that. Circumference. Not sure. But regardless, it's not the area. Area is pi r squared. Oh. Well, I did a Vim thing that I don't know. Sometimes when you're in Vim, things just happen and you don't know why. So this is a logic error, and we can see it in action. Just like we see, there are no syntax errors. I run it. Let's just try the radius 1, right? That's really easy to check. The area of a circle with radius 1 is not 6.283, it's whatever pi squared is, right? 9 something, right? So this is a logic error where, as the programmer, I have used a wrong algorithm. So as you're programming, you're debugging, it's useful to think of these 4 different types of errors.